Hello everyone. In this video we are going to talk about printers. Today I'm mostly just going to show you how to get a printer set up, get one installed, get one shared, and how to use some of the management tools that we have in Windows 10 to handle printing. So first of all, to get to the list of printers, if we go down to Start menu and then Settings, and then in Devices, you will see printers and scanners are one of the options. So as you can see, I have one printer here that is not part of the default sets. The default fax, print to PDF, and XPS document writer, we won't worry about these right now. This one is one that I happen to have in my house and was discovered when I installed Windows. If I want to add a printer myself, what I'm going to do is I will go up here to the Add Printer or Scanner, click on the plus, it will start searching. In a short while, it's going to not find something, and it's going to come up with an option here. The printer I want isn't listed. So if I click on this link, this is going to take me to my Add Printer. Now, I can add in a number of ways. If your printer is a little older, this means it's not a plug-and-play printer. Plug-and-play, being a printer that you can just plug in and Windows will discover it, it'll install the driver, and everything will work. Older printers don't have that capability. So I could use this. It will try and search for a printer connected to my computer. As it turns out, I don't have one connected to my computer. If I had one shared somewhere else on the network, I could select a shared printer and then type in the name of the computer that it is connected to and then the name of the printer itself. And then I would be able to access it. We'll talk about that in just a little bit when I show you how to share a printer. The other options are add a local printer manually or add a printer using TCP/IP address. If you have a printer that has a wireless card and you are able to connect to it wirelessly, it may not always show up back up here where I was looking. So you may, if you know what the address is, use this option and then literally type in the address manually, and then you should be able to access the printer. And this is the method we're going to use because it shows you a couple of the different things that you can do. So we'll select TCP/IP, click Next, and then I can either have it auto-detect or I'm going to assume that I won't be able to find it. And down here, I can just add the IP address if I know what it is. So I am going to create an address right there. Now, is this actually a printer? I honestly have no idea. But this is going to be the IP address that the printer object that I'm creating is going to be at. Now, I call this a printer object. And what I mean by that is this is going to be what Windows sees as a printer. It's not really a printer. It's actually a group of settings that you can use to print, that you can actually use to access a real printer. But it's not a printer itself. It's just, like I said, an object, a collection of settings. So with that said, we are going to call this a TCP/IP device instead of auto-detect, which it won't do. And web services is a different kind of connection, but I want to stick with TCP/IP. Okay, so we click Next. I do not, by the way, want to automatically select the driver. I don't have a computer printer connected, so I am going to decide what kind of printer I will connect as opposed to having it try and figure it out for me. So I click on Next. It's going to try and find the port. It will find the port because that is a valid port that exists. And then once it does, it will give me the option of trying to find or select a driver to use. Okay, so once it gives up, it needs to get more information. So I'm just going to say this is a generic card because it can't find it. That's fine. And then afterwards, it's going to give me a list of printers. Now, this list of printers is called the printer store. Windows 10 has a whole bunch of print drivers, a whole bunch of print driver by a driver, I mean software that we use to connect and interact with a printer. So every driver that we have here is actually just a little program that talks to the printer and then translates printer information to Windows. And then Windows also will send information and the driver will translate it back to the printer language. And then that's how we are able to send data to the printer in order to print. So these are all of the built-in default manufacturers and the printers that they have available to them. So if I look at HP, for example, these are all the HP printers that have drivers built into Windows. This is not an exhaustive complete list. This is just a list. And Windows adds all of these by default, assuming that most of the basic printers will be able to function with these print drivers. Okay, so you can also add your own, and that's going to be one of the things that you will do in one of the labs that we have for Chapter 8. So you will actually add the universal printer. So if I want to add the universal printing driver, I just select it and click Next. Now, if I had a disk or a USB drive or something that actually had the driver installed, I can click on Have Disk and then browse to the drive that actually has that driver and install it that way. I may also try using Windows Update. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes Windows Update has new drivers for printers. So let's just stick with the universal print driver there. Next, and then I will name whatever I want this printer to be. We'll call it generic HP, mostly because I don't actually have one. Okay, so I click Next. It's going to install. Basically, this is creating that print object, that group of settings that I was talking about. And when it's finished, it's going to appear in the printer list, and I'll be able to interact with the printer object, even though I don't have anything to print. If I had a printer that matched all the settings that I just put into that object, it would actually connect to that printer and then print to it. One last feature, once it finishes setting it up, is the ability to share the printer. So now, sharing is very similar to file sharing and folder sharing in that you select a name for the share, and then when people access your computer, this will be one of the options that shows up. If I were to log in with a different computer and access the UserX machine that I'm working on here, I would see whatever folders that I had shared, and then also any printers. And by double-clicking on those printers, I would then be able to use them to be able to print to whatever printers are attached or configured on my machine. So we'll leave that as the share location, and then it will finish. If I try to print a test page, sadly, nothing will print. Okay, so I finish up. Now, notice my generic HP printer is under my list of printers and scanners. Okay? If I click on it, I still can do things like open the queue, which is seeing what is set to print to the printer. As you can see right now, nothing has been submitted to the printer. If I choose to manage, this will bring up a list of things that I can do, including different properties and preferences. I can try printing a test page. So let's just say I print a test page. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to then add a document to the queue. It's going to try and print a test page. So if I open up the print queue, you will now see there's a test page here waiting to be printed. Now, since there's no printer, it eventually will fail. So what I can do, because it eventually will fail, if I select this job, this print job that I've just sent to the printer, I may right-click it and either pause or restart or cancel the print job. So we'll just cancel it. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, it'll delete it, and in a short time, it'll disappear from the queue. Now, as far as printer properties and preferences, this is where we're allowed to make changes to how the printer interacts with Windows. These are things like the sharing tab, which tells us how we're sharing the printer, the ports that it's on. In this case, it's on an IP address right there. That's the IP address that I set it up with. Device settings are things like how many different trays full of paper do we have, what's the size of the paper, does it have stapling, all sorts of things, options that you will have on your typical printer. This is stuff that is informed by the driver. The driver has this information. Notice up here, the universal print driver is listed. So these are the settings that it gets from the driver. You need to have the correct driver for the correct printer in order to access all of the features of a printer. And so on and so forth. There's a number of other things, including security. You can actually deny access to your printer to other groups or users if you want to, even if it is shared. Okay? All right. Printing preferences, on the other hand, this is how you're actually going to print. Am I going to be printing letter size? Am I going to be printing legal size, or different paper sizes depending on where you are? Am I going to be printing one page? Am I going to be printing on both sides? So on and so forth. Okay? All right. So that is setting up a printer. Now, one last thing I want to mention about printers is the print management snap-in. So we can get to that down here if we just start typing in print. Print management is going to show up. The print management snap-in is going to look similar to computer management and disk management and so on, in that it gives you a bunch of different options for the things that you have installed on your computer. So if I open up the filters, you can see these are all the different printers that I have installed on my computer. There's the actual computer, there's the generic one I just set up. And in here, we can access, let me just get here. We can access the properties, we can access, if I right click, the queue, all the things that you're able to do with a printer, you can get here from Print Management by either double clicking or right clicking on the option itself. We also have a list of the drivers installed. These are the drivers that have been installed by either myself or by Microsoft. So here you can see the HP printing universal printer that I had. Down here, this is the driver for my brother printer here. So these are the things that have been installed on top of the normal Microsoft and Gateway printer drivers. And so in here, we can actually, if we choose, as I right click, get information about all the different printers. If I right click on a driver, you can see I can remove the driver, I can get properties for the driver, I can delete the driver entirely, all from in here. Okay. Print servers, we're gonna here, let me open that else up. We're not really going to be using, not in this class. But if you have a print server, in other words, something that actually hosts a bunch of shared printers for people to use, you may access the server from here. Now, in our case, these are the printers that we have available to our local computer. So technically, any of these could be served or shared from our computer. Actually, this one is at the moment. But print servers generally implies some machine that has printers that other users are able to access remotely from different machines. Okay? All right, so that's pretty much it for Print Management. I just wanted to show you it was here. In general, the most efficient way, in my opinion, to work on printers is through the Print Management system. I showed you the other ways because there are always, with Windows, multiple ways to accomplish the same task. And so I wanted you to see how to access it from settings, how to access all the different options for the printers, both from there and then also here from Print Management. Okay, so that will do it for this week. Have a good week, and I will speak to you soon.